From Carolla One Studios in Glendale, California, and brought to you by Bet Online, this is the Adam Carolla Show. Adam's guest today, AJ Benza, with Gina on news, Bald Brian on sound effects, and Jeff Cesario with the sports. And now, America's comedian, Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get on. Woo! Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for telling a friend, right, Gina Grad?
That's right.
And Bald Brian.
Best way to get over a girl is to get under another one.
Yeah.
The more you know.
Nice job, Dawson, man.
Yeah. That was awesome.
Flamethrower.
Nice pull.
AJ Benza here. Yeah, speaking of America's team, I was a couple moments late because I was at the other shop watching the very end of that Dallas Cowboys game. It just came down to the very end. And it's funny because Pete Carroll and a lot of the coaches have gotten into trouble for not wearing their mask. And the thing that they do is Pete Carroll wears his mask when he's talking into the headset, and then he pulls the mask down and goes, "It's a U formation, U formation." He starts screaming, and then he pulls the mask back up, and he's like, "Okay, let's do a 25C fly." Like, he literally pulls the mask out, screams as loud as he can, and then pulls it back on, and then talks to the guy up in the booth.
I'm sure it's fine.
I'm sure it's fine.
He's the 12th man.
Yeah. He is the 12th man, but
he has to be.
Somebody said, who I was watching the games with, it's like, all these guys are getting tested. So why does Pete Carroll need to have his mask up or down? He's like outside. Everyone's being tested.
There's been like 300,000 tests and everybody's fine.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, not everybody, but the point is like, in the NFL. So it's like, are we doing
one cornerback who got tested positive yesterday, 2 days ago.
Okay.
But that's a pretty good ratio.
That's not bad. Yeah.
Well, also, I never did this, but we all need to do this, which is a positive test versus a hospitalization or ventilation or whatever, something going on. Being positive is fine if it doesn't lay out, doesn't kill you, and it doesn't whatever you, then it's a positive test. But why are these guys getting fined? And are they getting fined because we like the example of the mask, the sort of symbolism of it versus the practicality? He's around a bunch of guys who are being tested. These guys are running into each other. No one on the team, no one on the field is wearing a mask.
Yeah.
Why is he getting fined for not wearing a mask?
Also, I've always wondered this. Maybe we can ask Dan Bischek or somebody. What happens to that fine money? That's the better part of $1 million. Is that just league revenue? Like, what happens to that?
It always
fine
goes
money?
into some fun for like the kids of Spina Bifida or something.
Mysterious, yeah, I know.
But I'm saying in a league, all right, there's 22 guys on the field not wearing masks.
Right.
There's another 30 guys behind you on the bench who aren't wearing masks. Then it's kind of catch can in between that, referees and assistant coaches and line, the guys running the chain gang and stuff like that. Why is it so important that you have a mask on and then pull it down and pull it up and you're outside and who cares?
And they're huffing and puffing like you talk about getting your breath out there.
Yeah, sweating on each other.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think it's symbolic, and as far as that goes. And then another thing I haven't told AJ about, but you guys heard me ranting about it. I keep thinking about my Southwest flight from Phoenix to LA last week. 55-minute flight, 15 warnings up and down the aisle about pull the mask up. Right. The mask got more attention than the seatbelt. The seatbelt is finally taking a back seat to the mask. You know when you'd have the seatbelt clicked in, but your sweat jacket would be over it. And they go, sir, just go and lift that sweat jacket. So make sure you got that up and down, mask up, mask up, mask up. 20 minutes later, here's a sack of pretzels, mask down, everybody. And everyone's putting their fingers in their mouth. The only way to eat, you can't eat pretzels with a fork.
No, with a fork and knife.
It's all fingers. It's all your fingers in your mouth. On a 55-minute flight, here's a sack of pretzels. Take your mask down. Put your fingers in your mouth.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem sanitary. Seems like if this was let's put it this way. If these guys had scrubbed into an operation, do you think we'd be handing out sacks of pretzels and all the students would be pulling their mask down and put their fingers in their mouth?
No.
Don't give the pretzels out, or don't get so preachy about the mask.
I was telling Gina before I was at Caesar's Palace a couple of weeks ago, and it's 119 degrees outside, and they're like, "You got to wear a mask if you're going to sit here in the sun." I said, "Well, I'm not." Well, then you got to go in the pool, and the masks are optional. I said, how can I not wear a mask? Give me that rule. Well, you can be in the pool and drink. Then that's what I'll
problem.
do.
Can
I'm going
do.
to sit right here. And I sat there and had 2 drinks for an hour, probably $70 with those friggin' drinks. And I was able to sit there without a mask and drink and talk to people who didn't wear masks. But there were numbskulls walking in the pool with masks in the pool.
In the pool.
Yeah.
In the water
Yeah.
in the pool.
And I'm talking 107 degrees. I mean,
In
It's a
Vegas,
diving mask.
in the
It's a diving bell.
I feel in Vegas smoking would be a reason not to wear a mask too. Or do you put a hole in the mask? How does smoking with the mask go?
That defeats the mask.
It's so gross in Vegas too because I said this, and then things started happening. You go down to play, and then the casino wasn't that bad, but the crowd that it's attracted to Vegas now is not the kind of crowd, when when the prices are motel room prices, you're going to get a certain crowd, and everybody's running around the casino with no masks on, and they're gambling, and they've got a bottle of Hennessy and a bottle of ginger ale. I'm sorry if I gave that away with the description, and no masks, nobody telling them put your mask on. It's all ridiculous. It's just junk.
What were you doing in Vegas?
I went to do a podcast out there with Brian Howie, Political Junkies. I like him. He's great. And
So you just had you as a guest?
yeah,
You went out
yeah.
there?
So I flew out there. They put me up at Caesars. I loved it. And here's the thing. I didn't like the vibe because when I got to Caesars, I saw a guy being put down on the floor. You don't see that at Caesars, And I'm like, oh, that's weird. So I go to my room. The next night, I'm coming up the elevator. And, if you win money, I wasn't with anybody, but if you're with a girl, you got some money in your pocket, and there's a black kid with a pit bull by the elevator. Very bad look for Caesar's Palace. And about 10 minutes later, I hear a bunch of feet running up the stairwell, security guards with the whole, nightsticks, whatever, all the tools. And they run down my hallway, and I'm like watching, and I finally grab the guy. I go, what's up? They go, we had a little bit of a Black Lives Matter thing going on at the pool, and now we found where they're staying, so we got to get them out of here. And like 7 guys to a room with a pit bull and a girl, and I'm hearing a lot about that's my baby daddy, that kind of crap. And you know what? Not a good Vegas. Not a good look right now, man. Not a good look.
You sound set in your ways. If you, as long as we're piling on black folk, I saw a video. So the scariest, I've always said it was that white Prius video with the truck out here in, I don't know, Los Angeles, Wilshire.
Yeah, it was like Sunset and Vine.
Thursday night. And I have said a million times, and I am possibly alone in this in terms of law enforcement. When I hear about people robbing banks, I'm not surprised by it. Banks are basically an apartment building filled with money, and high people come in there with a gun and want to take some of the money out of that building. Like it makes. By the way, if we didn't have bank robbers, it wouldn't make sense to me. Right? Everyone needs money.
Sure.
And this house, the bank, holds the money.
With an old guard.
With an
watching
old
it.
guy.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
why wouldn't you go in there? Why aren't there more bank robberies is basically what I'm saying. And I get like insurance fraud, and I get the part where you have, loveless relationship for 37 years, and you poison your partner, and you want to collect, whatever. I get all that. What scares me the most is crazy, senseless, kind of spontaneous violence. The spontaneous stuff bothers me because the spontaneous stuff is like, look, if you want to avoid the bank robbery stuff, don't get a job at a bank. And if you want to avoid the part where your wife of 37 years is poisoning you, then tell her she looks good in a sundress every once in a while and eat her pussy and get on with your life. But the crazy walking down the sidewalk stuff, that could be any one of us.
Just punching someone in the side of the head.
Just that
running.
kind of stuff freaks me out. And it's the scariest citizen.
Yeah.
That oftentimes we go lighter on than the wife that poisons the husband, And I saw some footage from the other night, and it's like back to Black Lives Matter protest, rally, whatever. Every once in a while, someone just turns down the wrong street.
Yes.
And their car gets surrounded, and they're trying to get home,
Whether
And
the Lakers won the championship or there's a Black Lives Matter rally.
right, they're just trying. All they want to do is get out of there in one piece.
Hit the gas.
By the way, they want to get out of there in one piece without hitting anybody.
You
They
gotta,
don't want to.
you gotta hit the gas.
They don't want to touch anyone. And someone in this Prius was like, and I talked to Drew about it yesterday. Actually, it's like a 17-year-old kid was driving, like just people were banging on the car and stuff, and they just wanted to get out of there. So they just kind of fished their way through a crowd, and people were chasing the car as if they did something.
Yeah.
They just,
and it got much worse from there.
Right. They just wanted to get home. So at some certain point, they got away from the crowd. They got down the street. Everything seemed to be okay. And a big raised pickup truck went flying down the street. This is when things are fairly lawless. I guess you can do this. Went flying down the street a mile, turned right in front, locked up the brakes, skidded in front. The person in the Prius came to a stop, like a motorcycle pulled up. The guy jumped out of the truck and just started smash his hand through. I don't know if the window was open, grabbed the person behind the wheel. The Prius started punching the person. Like, all this person was doing was driving, trying to get home. Then like a Mustang pulled up, and then they backed up more.
Look at this
They
shit.
were going to pull the person out of the car and kill them for the crime of driving.
You're exactly right.
Other people are banging on it with skateboards and mountain bikes. Like, people are smashing against the car. Thank God the person got it into gear and took off. But first off, that person's driving a Prius. They're on your side. What are you doing?
Yeah, right.
It's the scary.
Well, I
And
tell you
then
something?
later on, the
And then
cops
they
pulled
got
over the
pulled
guy in
over.
the,
Yeah.
the,
Same
the
thing.
Prius.
Listen,
Right.
last night I'm picking up pizza for the family at Ove Pizza.
You
on
eat pizza?
Yeah, of course. Hey, listen, once in a while. On Ventura in Coldwater, I grab a pie and I'm trying to get onto Ventura out of the parking lot, and I couldn't make it. And I gas it and I get in, and a white BMW is giving me shit. He's behind me, honking, giving me the finger. I'm fuck you back, the whole thing. We get to the next light. I'm like, what the fuck's your problem? Fuck you, that kind of shit. We get to Laurel, and now we're jawing at each other, and I'm just giving him all sorts of shit. And he pulls in front of me, and he hits the brakes, and now I'm stopped. And he gets out of the car, and I go, and I had somebody on the phone, thank God, because she heard the whole thing. I go, what the fuck are you gonna do? We're gonna fight now? Is this it? You're gonna fucking kill me? Over what? He goes, man, what the fuck you doing? I said, I'm trying to fucking drive. And I go, you got a gun? You gonna shoot me? And he picks up his shirt, and there's a fucking 9mm.
Wow.
And he had like ugly little like sweatpants, like a nobody. This guy's packing. And I go, holy shit, you got a gun. You gonna shoot me? And he's like, pfft. And I go, oh, I'm fucking believable. Like, I'm gonna get killed over a pie, a pizza pie.
What toppings you get?
Like a mushroom and garlic and a little extra sausage.
Oh,
to it.
interesting.
I'm gonna go.
Extra
Listen,
sausage, yeah.
nowadays, if I'm gonna die, I want the right shit. I'm not gonna skimp.
So all I'm saying is the scariest thing in the world is the person who's driving the pickup truck when the guy in the Prius threads, and when I say guy, I mean 17-year-old, I guess, the kid carefully thread their way through the crowd.
Look at this.
They're just trying to get out of there.
course.
People are banging on the car, and they get out, and then you go run them down, stop in front of them, and then I guess attempt to kill them once you catch up to them for the crime of going home that night.
People are gonna die.
Well, and
Yes.
you're so right to bring this up because we cover these protests every night, and once in a while you will get a vehicle that is trying to maliciously mow down people in a crowd or whatever, or just acting erratically. But when you see that, and then you hear about, white Prius, the first thing you think is, white Prius trying to mow down everybody in the crowd. But if you stop and you look at the footage, you're absolutely right. Trying to thread the needle just to get around the corner.
You gotta put like
everything looks like you're trying to kill the crowd.
Yeah, but you just got to imagine you're a kid in the back seat. They don't care if there's a kid in the baby seat, or they don't care about that. So yeah, I'm gonna hit the gas eventually, and we'll talk about the consequences tomorrow when I get locked up. But I'm not gonna sit there and get beat.
All the footage I've seen, whether they hit the crowd or not hit the crowd, whether it's a cop car or civilian car, is some version of the person in the car trying to get out of that situation. That's
Well, the cop SUV in New York.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you sit there for any period of time, then you're getting pulled out of the car and stomped to death. Like,
Right,
and at that time, there's a scenario. So it's like there is a point where you're in the shark cage and the sharks are outside of the cage. At a certain point, you're going to be outside of the shark cage.
Yeah, yeah.
For that moment when you're in the shark cage,
Yeah.
then you have the advantage, and that's your right foot, and you hit the accelerator.
Right.
Like, and by the way, could you imagine? And I'll put this to everybody: your husband or your wife is in the car, your kid or kids are in the back seat. The crowd gathers around the car. They're smashing the windows. They're banging on the roof, and your wife and or significant other goes, I just wanted to be super cautious and make sure I didn't hit anybody, and I stopped the car, and I didn't. Or would you go, fuck it, just fucking
just
hit
floor
it,
it.
just get out of
Go.
there,
Yeah.
just get out of
The
there.
smashing of the car is an act of aggression,
Go.
as far as I know.
Right.
So at that point, it's just get the fuck away.
And if someone's
Who
gonna-
knows if the guy's got a pipe or a weapon? You get away.
And if someone's going to stand in front of your car and dance on the hood, then if you accelerate and they fall off the hood, that'll be on
Too
them
bad,
because
but
they're not supposed to be on
I'm
the
not
hood.
going to be the next Reginald Denny. You're not going to pull me out of my car and beat me with a brick.
So anyway, that was interesting footage, and I think I talked to Drew about the kid. I think it was a 17-year-old who was driving
He looks
the car.
very young. I mean, not that you can tell by saying Prius and flip flops. That could be any age, but yeah, he did look really young. I don't know if any of you have ever experienced, though something tells me you have, a random person or one stranger like beating on your car window. But it's happened to me one time. And it was because he wasn't paying attention, or he was like, I don't know, fucking around, talking on his phone. And I gave him a little beep beep that the light had turned green. He stopped his car, got out. He had a girl in the car with him, like a girlfriend or wife, and started banging on my window and calling me names. And I was terrified.
Yeah.
And that was one dude.
Right.
If there was 20 people doing that, it would be, I'd have a heart attack.
No, man.
I had it, stupidly enough. I told you guys before, we did we're right in the height of the Man Show. We're going into like season 3, and Drew and I were doing Loughlin was popular, and Drew and I were doing a speaking engagement like UC Santa Barbara. And we all went out there. So the story was me and Drew were going to go to UC Santa Barbara, and we decided to have like a Man Show writers retreat in Santa Barbara because it was right before we're going to start the Man Show. And it was one of these things where we used to have a writer's retreat for the Man Show. And we wouldn't get any work done, but it's like, let the studio pay for it. We'll all show up at some cabin somewhere and pretend to talk about ideas.
Right.
And so I said, well, I'm going to UC Santa Barbara. I'm like, we'll throw a party there. Jeff Ross and Cousin Sal, like Jimmy and all those guys. So I did UC Santa Barbara that night, and there was a frat party. It was like a big frat party, and Danny Two Sheets, Daniel Kelso, was like, "Hey, we're going to a frat party," you know. And so it turned out to be a scene where the guys from the Man Show were at a frat party in the height of the Man Show power. So everyone started going nuts.
You're
And
a god.
at a certain point, it got out of hand.
Yeah, sure.
At a certain point, we all retreated to the big rental van,
Sure,
and like
sure.
Cousin Sal was driving, and it was like the Isla Vista thing. And everyone piled out into the streets. Everyone would pile out like Halloween in Isla Vista. And so all these frat dudes, everyone had piled out, and we're all in the van, and they're all drunk. And at this point, they're all like rocking the van and whatever. And Cousin Sal is driving, and I'm like, just keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. And they're like pulling on the windshield wipers, and they're standing in front.
God.
And Sal's being, real careful not to hurt anyone. But I'm like, don't stop, keep going. And if they want to stand in front of the van, then push them out of the way.
Yeah.
Just nudge them out of the way.
Right.
They need to move. You just if we stop, the van's going to be turned over.
Yeah.
So it was a very minor version of what just happened there, but it's like, just keep rolling forward. And if you're in front of the car, you will move as we move forward.
Of course.
I'm sorry, you had a news story there, Mexipata, that was on the screen, but it's not
Oh yeah,
anymore.
well, I was looking for the video. It's kind of funny. I was going through like Facebook and all the news outlets, and they've been changing their headlines about this story.
Yeah,
so like
of course.
ABC 7 started with Prius plows through protesters in Hollywood.
Of course.
Activist gives chase, and then a lot of people complained, so they changed it to Prius drives through protesters.
Oh, yes.
And then KTLA said 2 vehicles plow through Hollywood crowd protesting Breonna Taylor's killing, because there's a pickup truck that did it too.
How do you plow through a crowd without hitting anyone at 4 miles an hour, making sure to avoid any human who's in front of me? That is not plowing through a crowd, you fucking liars.
You're going to love this. Here's KTLA's coverage of the story.
Here it is.
Hundreds of protesters headed to Hollywood last night demanding justice for Breonna Taylor. As the crowd of around 300 marched, protesters spilled from the sidewalk onto the street. By now, the crowd has made its way to Sunset and Cahuenga. Again, the driver of the vehicle steers into the middle of the protesters. You can see someone go up to the window
That's what
of
he
the
did,
Prius.
He's aiming, He's a vigilante.
He steered into the middle of the protesters.
Or is he hugging the corner?
Or is he hugging the corner? By the way, hey, bitch, don't do news stories where you go, you can see. No, we can't see that. Nobody can see that. It looks like he's hugging the corner to try to get out.
Yes.
And let's not forget that this is 8 or 10 miles away from the spot where there was a horrific example of someone plowing through a crowd. Remember the Santa Monica Farmers Market?
Oh, my God.
8 years ago, whatever it was. That was plowing through a crowd trying to kill people.
Right.
And did. I mean, that was an elderly person
old
that
guy.
lost their mind.
Had a heart attack.
You can kill people if you want to plow through them, but go ahead. Sorry.
Crowd has made its way to Sunset and Cahuenga. Again, the driver of the vehicle steers into the middle of the protesters. You can see someone go up to the window of the Prius, trying to get the driver to stop.
Trying to help him.
Prius backs up, hits the car behind
What
it.
the fuck is with the news? What is with the news? Like
Saunters up.
No, he flew in front of the pickup truck, was going to kill the 17-year-old.
You might as well call him a good Samaritan. A good Samaritan came to his window.
And they cut out the entire chase and the pickup truck stopping in front.
Yeah.
Keep playing it.
All right, keep playing it. Sorry.
You can see someone
just play
go up
from
to
the top
window
because
of the
this is insane. Like he plowed through the middle of the crowd, or he drove through the middle of the crowd. He sucked all the way the right curb, and then they caught up to him, and then they were going to kill him inside the car.
Sure.
Street. By now, the crowd has made its way to Sunset and Cahuenga. Again, the driver of the vehicle steers into the middle of the protesters. You can see someone go up to the window of the Prius, trying to get the driver to stop. The Prius backs up, hits the car behind it, and then another truck pulls in front of the Prius and pins it in. But the driver is able to maneuver and escape. That is until the LAPD catches up with it about 3 blocks away.
Well, it's good they got him because Breonna Taylor was such a fucking angel, and I'm so glad we're protesting about this girl in the middle of a drug trafficking ring. Don't get me started on her. What a bunch of shit this is.
I know.
Her boyfriend shoots at a cop. This chick is in the hallway. She's not in bed, George Clooney. She's not sleeping, you little fuck. She's a bad girl. They used her house because she has good credit, and that's why she had a home and a car. And by the way, there was a dead body in one of her fucking cars. How about that story? No one talks about it.
Should we say allegedly?
Yeah,
No,
I was
it's
gonna
all
say, hit the intro.
true. It's all true. Go ahead, put it up.
Yeah,
Go
we have an
ahead.
intro for AJ.
Go ahead. Go ahead. We're all going to jail.
Allegedly with AJ Benza. Called that so we don't get sued.
I did have a lengthy discussion with Mark Geragos about no knocks and just sort of warrants and arresting, and as it pertains to Breonna Taylor, as it pertains to all the judges. I don't know. Do you want to play that? I thought it was kind of
it's
interesting.
really good, yeah.
There's a part of it there's a part that's pretty interesting that I found, which is as I was drilling down on it with Geragos, which is the judge okayed 5 warrants in 12 minutes. Like the judge was just like, go ahead.
Okay.
And I thought it was sort of interesting. We talked for a long time. I told Chris just to kind of cobble it together, sort of asking in general. We talked about Roger Stone and all the cops showing up at his place. We talked about
Lori Laughlin.
Why do you have to go get these people? Why can't they can be surrendered? Their attorneys will surrender them. Or just wait for Breonna Taylor the next day. Anyway, we'll play the clip. We'll see how it sounds.
What it was historically is they said, cops said to judges, and judges bought it, well, you got to have a no-knock because there's exigent circumstances. And the exigent circumstances, and by the way, this all arose out of this idiotic war on drugs, which is most of the bad consequences in U.S. Jurisprudence. But the war on drugs, the cops started saying, well, the only way we can get the evidence is we got to bang down the door. Remember Daryl Gates and the battering rams?
Right.
We got to bang down the door because otherwise they're going to flush the drugs down the toilet, and then we got no evidence. Okay, who cares? But anyway.
Well, Mark, let me jump in.
Yeah.
I've always sort of said, why not just surveil the place, and then when they get up and leave for work in the morning and they're walking out with their commuter mug, you just slide up on them and put zip ties on them and tell them to sit on the curb. Why not that? What do you think they're doing that night?
Yeah, you explain it to me. I've argued that. I've argued that very thing. There was no exigent circumstances. There was no reason to come in at midnight or 2 or 4. You know, California's got a variation on the search warrant night service, yes or no. Most judges smartly and judiciously press no. But there really is not, I don't think, and you can make a legal argument now that the U.S. Supreme Court has said, unless you can get in and do with specificity, as to why that there's no need for it.
Well, let me ask real quick. Lori Laughlin, Roger Stone. Why they have to go to those people's houses in the wee hours?
And that's for an arrest. I mean, that's right. There's absolutely no exigent circumstances there. Wait until they exit, as you're saying. Pull them over in the car. Pull them over as they walk down the driveway. And in a lot of ways, Breonna Taylor and these no-knock warrants are even worse because they are search warrants as opposed to arrest warrants. A search warrant is not only are we just looking for somebody to grab, and your point, why don't you just wait till they come out? But the search warrant is the middle of the night, we got to go search this place. We're going to go in there, as you say, in a densely populated place, and we're just going to wreak havoc in a place. Let me suggest something. That it's just because there are no consequences.
Right.
It's just because there is this awful thing called qualified immunity. It's just because there isn't any kind of punishment other than once the populace gets upset. And this is rare. What's happened in the last 7 or 8 months is light years from what we've been toiling against for the last 40 years.
Well, there you go.
Can I just say something? Because I did this on my show. First of all, I think why the cops do it sometimes is to show the community that they really mean business. I think that's a big part of it. But I'll say this about her. I wrote this, so I'm not speaking.
Allegedly.
No. Well, okay, whatever you want to say. But I'm going to say this because everybody's making her out to be a fucking queen. She wasn't shot while she was in her bed. She was in the hallway. She was not an EMT at the time of her death. She was forced to quit years ago because a dead body was found in a car rented under her name. The victim was an associate of a drug-dealing boyfriend of hers. Even though a no-knock warrant was issued, the officers did knock, so they were polite that night. Her neighbors testified under oath that the police announced themselves before trying to enter the apartment. Her boyfriend shot a cop before the police fired the first round, and she was still aiding and abetting her previous boyfriend's drug-dealing operation. She and her car, and I've read 150 pages of all the shit the cops went through, plus all the transcripts of the phone calls of her boyfriends in jail talking about this. None of them blame the cops. But no one's talking about this. It was a trap house. I used to hang out at trap houses. I know what it's like. I know where they stash the shit. They find someone whose record is clean, and they use that person's house. It's like getting somebody with a good background for a liquor license. It's no different. She was stashing drug money at the house. Her address was on record as being the current address on bank records. Her ex-boyfriend blamed her at the time. Her ex-boyfriend blamed her at the time boyfriend for her death, not the cops. And it goes on from there. They put up a picture of this chick, and I worked for newspapers for 20-something years. You can say a lot with a picture. There's a picture of her collecting some kind of plaque or some shit. I don't know what it is, but she looks like an awfully sweet girl in the picture. There's two sides to everybody, man.
AJ's got the name of the 3 cops on his tennis shoes, by the way.
I
wrote that before he came in here today.
I go deep in this. I'm ready.
Do you have more? Because I don't want to interrupt.
Yeah,
okay,
I have a little. I have a little more, real quick. So I wrote this down. For the uneducated and willfully ignorant, it was not the DA who determined the police officer should not be indicted. It was a grand jury, the most impartial of all arbiters. Her address and vehicle were on the warrant. The left and media have been lying to you. It's unfortunate that she was shot and died, but the police did nothing wrong. If people want to blame, if people want to BLM, which is to say burn, loot, and murder, over the grand jury's decision, apply the law to them. Breonna was involved with and profiting from drug trafficking. Blame her, her boyfriend, or her ex-boyfriend for her death, not the cops. Period. That's all.
Well, I think what we can probably agree on is that a bunch of things can be true at the same time. The cops could have acted within their job description or within their professional bounds or whatever, and someone can tragically be dead simultaneously.
Sure.
There's a lot of gray. There's a lot of in between. There's a lot, when we've now formed a society where we go, this innocent person is dead. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
And my feeling is both things can be true. She can be an innocent person who was killed by the cops, and the cops could have acted within the bounds of whatever their job description was.
Yeah, I agree.
AJ, do you know if the ex-boyfriend and the current boyfriend knew each other?
They did know each other, and they didn't like each other. And the first guy, I think his name is LaMarcus, I think, was unhappy that she was with the other guy. And all the phone call transcripts that I read, and it was pages and pages, because once you're in jail, it's like public record. You can read those phone calls. All he would say over and over was, he got Breonna killed. He got Breonna killed. And I could speak. He said a lot worse than that, but he wasn't talking about the motherfucking cops came in and shot her. No, it was this motherfucker got her killed constantly.
What? Where do you get those transcripts?
I got people who dig for me, and get.
He's got a guy.
I got guys. I got guys all over.
All right, we're going to move on. We're going to do some AJ stories. We're going to do some. I think we're going to play some Rotten Tomatoes as well.
Beautiful.
We're going to hit a spot here. Yeah, what are you pointing at, Dawson?
That was allegedly with AJ Benza. Called that so we don't get sued. All views and opinions expressed in this segment are lightly researched and or complete conjecture based on hearsay and rumor from loose connections within the entertainment industry. There is no concrete way to prove that any of the claims made by AJ are in fact accurate and not libelous or defamatory. But again, we remind any legal representation who may be listening that the view and opinions expressed belong to AJ and only AJ, host of Fame is a Bitch, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Dawson, you just want to hear your own voice again.
I like it.
All right, let me hit BetterHelp, and then we'll get some of those stories and some Rotten Tomatoes as well. Well, BetterHelp online licensed professional counselors specialize in depression, anxiety, relationships, sleep, anger, self-esteem, and more. Connect with their counselor. Do it in a safe, private, online environment. Anything shared is confidential. Boy, these days, more than ever, man, people got to get their heads straight. BetterHelp is a good way to do that. Simply fill out a questionnaire that assesses your needs, get matched in under 48 hours, easily schedule secure video or phone sessions, plus exchange unlimited messages. If for any reason you're unhappy with your counselor, you can request a new one anytime, no charge. Join the over 1 million people using BetterHelp. In fact, so many people are using BetterHelp that they're actually recruiting additional counselors in 50 states. It's BetterHelp, right, Dawson?
BetterHelp is a truly affordable option, and our listeners get 10% off your first month with discount code Carolla, so why not get started today? Go to betterhelp.com/Carolla. That's BetterHelp.com/CAROLLA. Talk to a therapist online and get help.
All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back and do AJ stories and some Rotten Tomatoes right after this.
The Adam Carolla Show presents AJ Benza's birthday cocktail party. For June 2nd, let's see who's on the guest list. Actor Stacy Keach. The Yorkshire Ripper, English serial killer, Peter Sutcliffe. Dana Carvey joins us. Be Real. The Mac Guy, Justin Long. And Jerry Mathers as the Beaver. Let's get back to the Adam Carolla Show.
A little light, AJ.
No, you forgot Marquis de Sade.
June 2nd, 1740.
Marquis de Sade, and that's my main guest. He's the guy.
All right.
It's the guest of honor.
Is that Kaylin not knowing who that is?
No, that was me, but it was I guess I glanced over it.
A man who they put in prison and they stopped him from writing. It took away his pen and his pencil, and then you know what he ended up doing? He wrote with his own shit on the wall.
Really?
You couldn't stop the bastard.
Wow.
I like to think I'm a lot like him.
I would like to say, though, that on this day list of birthdays for June 2nd, the one person not listed is AJ Benza.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what the?
No, I need some more time.
Travesty.
A few more appearances here. You never know. I get bumped up. Get bumped right up.
All right. You got some stories from the world of Hollywood or beyond?
I was, I had something funny that I thought I'd bring up. And listen, I don't want to get too touchy here. I'm watching the Emmys the other night, which was a shit show. I love the Emmys. I love all the pomp and circumstance, which is gone now from award shows. But I like to see. It's disgusting. It was the Blemmies, the Black Emmys. Okay. I didn't like seeing Jimmy repeat Black Lives Matter with Anthony Anderson 3 times, treating him like a fucking circus monkey. That bothered the shit out of me. And I thought of you. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're going to go, AJ, who gives a shit? Jimmy's my friend. He's doing what he's got to do. I don't know. I just felt like, come on, Jimmy, don't be this way. Don't let Anthony Anderson make you say Black Lives Matter 3 times. It bothered me. Now, that's the first part. You don't have to answer because he's your good friend. I don't want to put.
Brian's making noise.
Okay,
Brian,
It was probably rehearsed.
Of course it was. But it's a stupid bit. It's dumb. It's dumb.
I will ask because I was sort of going back and forth with that. I was like, was it? It must have been. And then it's
sure.
But not everything. You'd be surprised how much stuff just kind of.
Well, you know Jimmy's face. Could you tell sometimes that things are coming out of left field that weren't in the script?
There's something called Sunday Night Football. I don't know if you know. They have Monday night, but they have Sunday night as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I just taped it and I was kind of watching it, and I'll ask him. I couldn't,
well, look,
I couldn't tell.
Okay, that's the thing, and I go, fucking Jimmy. I love Jimmy, but I hate that. However, talking to a really good friend of mine who was a stripper, and she was telling me that, Jimmy and Molly came to my club one night, and they were great. They were the greatest. I'm like, oh, that's really nice. She goes, yeah, that Molly was real particular on what dancer they wanted, and Jimmy was so thrilled because Molly never cut loose like this, and they spent like 3 hours with her, and Molly was having a ball. Jimmy never was like touchy or feel. He was really, the way it ended, and this is a great thing. Jimmy said to the girl, who's a beautiful girl, what is it called? They talked about children, the whole thing. He said, what does it cost for your son to go to what's his tuition for the year? And she told him, and that's what he gave her.
Meaning the kid goes to a private school, you think? Or
He goes to LAUSD.
It wasn't
So she
Dixie.
didn't get a tip.
No, it was a substantial amount of money, and Jimmy gave that as the tip, so to speak.
Now, I've seen him.
Pretty I know you say he's very generous.
He's super
generous. This is a very great example of the kind of man he is.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, when I give him just the tip, that's a different. That's in the champagne room.
True.
That's a different situation.
Yeah, the champagne room and the champagne room very
This is a little bit lower. This is more of a discount.
Girls a little quicker.
This is what Marshall's is to Saks Fifth Avenue, the champagne room.
You get quicker service, though. I'll tell you, you get in and out.
This is some irregulars in there. You get like an OP shirt with 2 P's on it or something like that. But yeah.
No, it's fine.
Well, Jimmy's always been very generous. He's always generous. I'd like to really figure out what generous is, because people think generous has to do with money, but I knew and have known people long before they had money, and they were still very generous. Back then, what they had. They didn't have money. They had time and expertise.
Yeah.
So Jimmy would be very generous with his time and generous with his expertise before he had money. Then later on, you're shorter on
He's too
time
busy now.
and longer
Right.
on money.
Right.
So that's where you.
Well, there you go.
You start giving away. But I'll bet you, if you took those people that are very generous monetarily later on in life, I bet the early version of them was generous with their time because
Yeah.
you just don't physically have the money.
Yeah, and then as you get more money, you can do it, and it's quicker, and people will get out of your hair, and you feel good about yourself.
I was always different because Danny Two Sheets would always say to me, he'd go, it was always our thing. Like he'd go, "You got to be a big tipper, man." And I'd go, "Why?" He'd go, "Now I was coming at it from a different position, which is like I used to get 15 doggy, reverse cowgirl, wheelbarrow. I built houses for $15 an hour, and I'd pull up in a truck full of tools and read plans and pull permits and frame out $15 an hour. And I'd be like, why does the 23-year-old chick? We're getting bottle service at a steak joint. Why does she need to walk out of here with $700 of my money? She's 23. She's worked up. She's been here for 90 minutes. And Daniel would always say, "You don't want word to get around that you're a bad tipper." And I said, "Well, you know what? Let's explore that." I kind of do. Because what I don't want is the opposite. Word gets around that I'm a huge tipper, like Frank Sinatra or
And
Jimmy.
they expect it all the time.
You give the bell guy $50 and he's devastated. I don't want that.
Yeah. Then he calls you a piece of shit. Like,
That's right.
This is
I
what he
want the
does.
opposite.
This is Carolla, $50.
That's right. All right. So Jimmy's sending stripper
That was
kids
a nice.
through school.
That was a nice story. I also look. I've been listening to Dax Shepard's podcast, right?
Oh yeah.
And I actually like his podcast a lot. He's got good guests on. But I'll tell you, not to say I predicted this because that's not the case, but I did know he recently came out and said his sobriety was knocked in half because his father was dying 8 years ago and they got high together on Percocet, which is completely understandable. But lately he's done it again, and he's been lying to Kristen Bell and his podcast partner. And, you know, I felt when I'm listening to the podcast, there was a show where he said, I'm going to tell my kids to do, you know, there's some drugs you can do, like mushrooms. You can do mushrooms. You can do this. Just don't do coke. But like he just like skated over alcohol. And I just thought to myself, that's not the way a guy in sobriety talks. Like that's not the way he should be.
Well, did he got into a motorcycle accident. He cracked some ribs and stuff like that.
A bunch of accidents, yeah.
Don't, first off, cracked ribs is
terrible,
exquisitely painful.
Well,
I've had
there's
them.
no
You can't
cast.
breathe. You can't laugh. You can't breathe.
You can't breathe. You can't laugh. You can't hiccup. A sneeze is excruciating when you have cracked ribs. So, did the motorcycle accident
that's
lead
what
to the
precipitated.
pain?
He's got
pills?
hands like you. He took a bad fall a few times, but he's got like 7 surgeries, and you know doctors prescribe Vicodin, so he's taken him, and Kristen has doled him out. Blah blah blah. But you know, once an addict, you know how to get an extra 30 OxyContins from a guy you knew 10 years ago. It's like not hard. So I felt bad for the guy that he has to go on this apology, not really a campaign, but he went on his show and he said, look, I'm coming clean. Here's what I've been doing. And I think people are beating him up. And I just feel like, God, give the fucking guy a break. Like 16 years, he got high with his dad because his dad was dying. They went to a lake and took Percocet together. They never got along, and they got along that night. It's like a movie.
Right.
And then he crashes his motorcycle a bunch of times, and he overdid the Vicodin, and he bought some oxys. The thing about guys who are addicts and this sobriety thing is that I just think they're so fucking hard on themselves. Like, I wish you could just let it go away. It happened. You know, like you got your team in place. I don't think you have to come on the air and tell everybody in America, I fucked up. Don't hate me.
I wonder if that's part of the strategy where you put it out there, you sort of put everyone on notice to check you, to look after you.
Could be.
You're hard on yourself intentionally because it's sort of like, I don't know, it's like saying I'm on a diet. If anyone sees me eating a piece of cake, slap it out of my hands. Like I'm putting it out.
Yeah,
I'm pushing
right.
it out there.
Right.
I wonder if that's part of it.
I don't know. Or it could be. I hate to say this. I don't think so. It could be. Does he need publicity for the show? I don't want to say that. That's a no. I don't.
Wait, didn't you say?
I don't mean it though.
He asked
but
the question.
Some people could do that. You got national news.
That's full Trump mode. Like, Nancy Pelosi,
People
cheater. I don't know. I'm not
people are saying
that.
terrible people are saying so.
Speaking of what AJ said, I heard a word one time and I'd never heard it before. I think we've talked about freegans who are vegans unless the food is free. And then it's like,
that's funny.
So I also heard the term free lapse when a friend of mine in the program who, somebody gave him a drink at a party. They said it was club soda. And they're like, oh, this doesn't taste like club soda. Oh, shit. Does that mean I have, to start over? And it's a free lapse. You didn't know you were doing it.
When I think about it, though, it is an interesting bedfellow because a lot of the folks who were addicts are basically adrenaline junkies. A lot of them are adrenaline junkies. So they get out of doing the pills and they start getting into free climbing and motorcycle riding and paragliding and stuff you can get injured doing. And then when you get injured doing whatever that thing is, and you got a bunch of you got a bunch of pins in your shin, you get
the good shit.
You get the good shit. Yeah. Like it seems like a very dangerous combination of I'm going to be sober, but I'm going to go do some hot laps at Laguna Seca on my Can-Am motorcycle, and next thing you know, you're undergoing surgery, and then
you guys,
now what? Where are we at?
You know about racing, but I mean, the pictures of him on his bike, man, his hands are this close to the ground on these turns. He's
dragging that knee,
yeah, his knee. And then the other thing I was going to say that is kind of interesting, Ben Affleck, who's suffered with sobriety on and off. He's doing, because I said jokingly to Laxamana before, I go, look, maybe fucking Dax is having a hard time being married to Kristen Bell. I could imagine. I wouldn't want to be straight the whole time with her either. She could be a real pain in the ass. She looks like she'd be a pain in the ass.
No, she looks like the opposite of a pain in the ass. But
you think she'd be
physically, if
she looks like angelic.
Yeah, if you were just
you're
going,
right. You're right.
Disney princess.
You're right. Yes, of course. But that would be a pain in the ass.
Just looked at a headshot. You wouldn't think so, but
I get you.
I am sure she's a handful.
She's an actress. Now, Ben Affleck's got this hot Latin piece of ass, Ana de Armas, and now they're like moving in. He's moving her into his $18 million house. And I said weeks and weeks ago that this guy's going to put a baby in her. I know he is. And this next move, and now you don't hear anything about him getting drunk anymore. Remember Halloween last year? He was falling down the street practically wearing a mask at some party. TMZ caught him. And it was like, oh, Ben, this is so bad. He finds Ana de Armas, and now all they're doing is going on walks, drinking coffee, and, walking their dogs. There's something to be said about the chick you're with and the life you're living, and he's not doing any extreme sports.
No,
the hot piece of
banging
ass
a Latin chick, which is extreme as it gets.
The Latin chick, the hot piece of ass is the star
extreme.
The star of Knives Out and
oh yeah, no, she's hot shit. Yeah, she's a great actress. Sure, Anna's a great actress.
I don't know anything, but when I was young, I would always hear this phrase going, "Woman, you're going to drive me to drinking." That's all I know. I don't know if it's scientific. I haven't vetted it with Dr. Drew, but I have heard driven to drinking.
It's got to be true.
All right, you got another story, AJ?
Story that's just coming out of my ass here. Let me think. Anything going on?
You don't have to.
No,
we can do Rotten Tomatoes.
Let's do Rotten Tomatoes. I didn't come equipped with a bunch of stuff. But
AJ, we're hot into election season.
Good.
Any Hunter Biden stuff?
Oh, you know what? I have a gut feeling that I think this Amy Coney Barrett is going to crack under pressure. I think, I don't think she's going to make it through what they're going to put her through. She's just too sweet looking and too nice, and I think whatever training they put her through, I'm sure they're getting her ready in some room, and they're throwing everything at her. I see her cracking. Because Kavanaugh was practically on his face that day. I don't think she's going to get through it. It's going to be a disaster.
Wait a minute. Is this you being a chauvinist?
No, listen, I want her in, but I think she's going to crack because they're going to be too hard on her.
Well, first
they're going to go after her kids.
She's adopted a couple of black kids from
Haitian kids.
Haitian kids. Yeah, they're going to go after that. Was it legal? They're going to go after that. It's about...
And her religion's like, what's it called? Like
friends of praise, people of praise. It's within a religion. Within a religion, it's more, it sounds culty, and that's all they need. And I'm telling you, she's not the kind of chick that she's going to crack under pressure, and it's going to be a big thing. You'll see. A couple
You
days
think
from
so?
now. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
Prediction.
Yeah, I know that the religion is going to be the angle, and she probably has plenty of statements that sound plenty religious and crackpotty, so I'm sure that'll happen. But I don't know if she's going to crack, because think about people. I don't know what you guys think. This is my Evander Holyfield theorem, and I'll be curious what you think. Evander Holyfield is the only guy I ever met who looked forward to fighting Mike Tyson. Like, he's like, oh, this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
And Evander Holyfield beat Mike Tyson 2 times. First off, Evander Holyfield beat Mike Tyson because he's like, I'm going to do something that no one else does with Mike Tyson, which is I'm going to bully him. I'm going to stand in the middle of the ring with this guy and take it to him. I'm going to trade.
Was that the ear biting fight, or was that the one before?
That was the second fight. Oh, no, sorry. Could have been the first fight. The first fight, yeah, I'm pretty sure. You look it up. I think the ear was the first fight because he fought him again after he bit his ear.
Right.
So, first off, Evander Holyfield was like, they always say you don't hook with a hooker. And we're not talking about the gals that Jimmy sends to college. I go, if this guy is a big-time hooker, if Mike Tyson is knocking, though the ear was fight too, sorry. If Mike Tyson is knocking everyone out throwing these hooks, then don't stand and trade and throw hooks with a hooker.
Right, I get what you're saying.
But Evander Holyfield's like, I'm looking forward to fighting this guy, and I'm not worried about it, and I'm going to bully him. I'll stand in the middle of the ring, and I'll trade, which is always the worst. It's the worst strategy to fight Tyson, stand and trade. But I will stand and trade. And then he won, and then like 10 minutes later, Tyson was like, I'd like to fight again. And Holyfield's like, okay, we'll do it again. And then he bit his ear off in the second fight. But the point is Evander Holyfield is so insanely religious, that's why he did it. I'm completely convinced.
I like that.
He had
angle.
the Lord on his side. He didn't think he could be harmed. God had blessed him. Everyone else is scared shitless of Mike Tyson. He's like, yeah, but I got the Lord on my side. So I think about these folks like Coney Barrett, and I think to myself, wait a minute, if she's that deeply religious, then what is she worried about Mazie Hirono for?
She's not
you know what I mean?
She's
not
going
to go out and
215-pound black chiseled black man who can fight. I just think she's delicate. But let me just say this real quick. I think I feel that the reason that Holyfield had an edge over Tyson is because remember in the Olympics that Tyson didn't make the Olympic team. Henry Tillman, right? Tillman made it. Mm-hmm. And
Tillman was an American heavyweight.
Right. But Tillman was in prison, and they got him out of prison to train with the Olympics. And if you make the team, you don't have to serve time in jail, that kind of thing. And Tyson couldn't beat the guy.
That's a movie.
And when
when
Tyson, it's going to be.
Well, Tyson couldn't beat him when he was 15 and
17. But when he couldn't beat him, he destroyed the locker room, cried his eyes out, didn't make the Olympic team, and the only guy to console him and hug him through those tears was Evander Holyfield. And I always felt like there's something psychological in Mike's head that was the guy who held him while he cried as a young.
That's why he bit his ear off.
Who knows?
That's a fine. How do you do?
Total side tangential memory here, but I'm going to throw this out to the whole everyone. I think Tyson Holyfield 2 was, I think, the first time I really noticed an adult getting drunk. You know, like your teenage years, like there's that first time where you're like, oh, that guy's fucking wasted. Because like we watched the fight at our neighbor's house. He got the pay-per-view or whatever, and he invited another friend over, and the friend, got drunk or whatever. And as we're leaving the fight, like, wow, that was some crazy shit. We're walking back to our house. The neighbor's friend is walking back to his car with his teenage son, and all he comes yelling is obviously trying to make us notice this joke is Tyson is irrational.
Oh God!
Tyson is irrational. He kept yelling that as he stumbled back to his car. Like, oh, the fucking guy's wasted. Do you guys ever have like a moment like that? Like, oh, that's the first time I really noticed an adult being wasted.
I remember being at my friend Chris Bohm's house, and his dad Big Rick, came home. And he worked at a transmission shop, and he's running like zip-up boots, like Beetle boots, but like transmission dungarees and stuff. And it's like Friday, and he'd been drinking probably after work, And I was laying on the floor watching TV, like on the carpet, just watching TV. And he like sat on the sofa above me, and he kind of used me as an ottoman. Like he took his boots and he put on my back, put his boots on my back, ripped a huge fart, and then yelled, "Speak out, old toothless one!" It was clearly lit. Because I remember his wife like going, "Come on, Rick, come on now, you've had enough."
Yeah, that's great.
You beat mine.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's good.
Mine was my friend's mom falling over in the yard, laughing her ass off, calling me a Jew.
Oh, well, there you go. That's a quick one.
That's
Fun fact, stone cold sober.
Laughing, you're a Jew.
AJ,
I remember we
easy memory.
We had a small, like 16 or 17-foot boat out Long Island, and my father and like his brother and two uncles were going to go fishing. They'd been drinking before the boat, and my mother was like, you know, you guys are too drunk to fish, and that's all he had to hear. He goes, "Shut, don't you give me that shit." And they're pushing off the dock, but all four of them did it, and the fucking whole boat fell over. All of them went in the drink. Never went fishing. And he got out of the water, and he goes, "You bitch, you did this to us."
Too drunk to fish.
Too drunk to fish. Yeah.
And,
No such thing.
and the foundation for AJ Benza's relationships were now set in place.
There you go.
Solidified.
There you go. There you go.
All right, let me hit quick Simply Safe here. No one should feel unsafe at home, period. Fear has no place at home, and that's why there is Simply Safe. 2 eyes. Protect your home. Do it today. Get free shipping at simplysafe.com/Adam. That is simplysafe.com/M. All right, we'll take we'll put Rotten Tomatoes on hold. We'll take a break, and we'll do the news with AJ and Bald and Gina right after this.
Give me the news with Grad. News with Gina Grad. Breaking viral, all those crazy Trump tweets. Give me news with Gina Grad. Trouble in the Middle East. Celebrity drunk meltdowns. Need news with Gina Grad.
The news with Gina Grad.
Well, I don't know if you've heard, but Joe Montana is a hero. He's
goddamn right he is.
He's a new hero again. TMZ reported Sunday morning that the San Francisco 49ers quarterback, who's now 64, confronted a woman who allegedly broke into the home where he and his wife were staying and tried to kidnap his young grandchild. Wow. According to TMZ, the woman allegedly spotted someone inside holding a baby, broke into the house and took the child from their arms. The intruder then reportedly moved to another part of the house with the baby. Montana and his wife, Jennifer, allegedly found the intruder and confronted her. TMZ reported they wrestled the baby out of her arms. She then fled, but the LA County Sheriff's deputies happened to be nearby handling something else completely unrelated. TMZ reported that someone inside the house got their attention and the deputies pursued and captured the alleged kidnapper. She was reportedly arrested on burglary and kidnapping charges.
Jesus.
This is only good if he grabs a can of corn as she's fleeing and throws a long bomb and bonks her in the back.
Yeah,
He
because
has
he's
to
not a
use his
scrambler.
skill.
He was never a scrambler. He can't
No.
grab the baby and
Step
run.
up, check down.
You know, right.
These stories always sound good, except for the kidnappers are crazy middle-aged women who, you know, their dog told them that they needed to add to their flock or something weird. Like, this is always just a complete mental breakdown. I don't know who the person is, but it's not the nefarious type, you know,
Not a nasty
kidnap.
criminal.
It's crazy.
Ransom.
It's crazy middle-aged woman who couldn't have her own children or lost an ugly custody battle or something like that. We end up feeling the problem with half the criminals nowadays is you feel sorry for them. Whereas back in the day, there were criminals like, oh, that guy, they got to go to jail.
Away.
Throw away the
Put 'em
key. Now it's
away.
like, poor, she was molested by her stepfather.
Her uncle put his finger up her. That's sad.
Yeah. And then he would write on a cell wall.
Yeah, I know. We got it.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
He's the greatest.
Do we
What
have?
does Steve
I
Young
mean,
have to say
is she
about
gonna be like
this?
54-year-old crazy lady, schizophrenic lady? Like I want her to be. I want this.
Trumper or Biden?
This
Trumper?
is good.
Who is she?
I want her to be like Al Qaeda. You know what I mean? Like I want this kind of thing because it's always this crazy person who wandered in with one flip flop.
Yeah.
But still good. I mean, still good with what Joe did.
Yeah, he's a hero.
He's a hero.
You want Al Qaeda? I can give you Al Qaeda.
Yeah, give me Al Qaeda.
Let's go.
The chief suspect in a double stabbing in Paris told investigators that he carried out the attack in anger over the caricatures of Prophet Muhammad, recently republished by the satirical weekly newspaper Charlie Hebdo.
Right.
This just happened again.
Yeah.
2 people were wounded. 7 are in custody after Friday's attack with a meat cleaver outside the newspaper's former office in eastern Paris, which counterterrorism authorities are investigating as an Islamic extremist attack.
What kind of security do Trey Parker and Matt Stone have in front of their homes? Because
Seriously.
they've been getting away with this stuff.
Yeah.
Durka. Like, I mean, Captain World Police. I mean,
Team America.
Yeah, Team America. Like, no one comes after them.
I'm sure
Good
there's
question.
major security.
They must have.
The Mormons are after him. Everyone's after him.
Yeah.
Oh, they're hiding in plain sight. If there's a Durkistan person within 100 miles of them, they're going to stick out like a
Well,
sore
I guess,
thumb.
Brian, you can't draw Muhammad, but you can put him on strings as a marionette. That's okay. That's
Guess so.
accepted. You know.
On one hand, it's like Charlie Hebdo, like, good for you, you're courageous. On the other hand, these poor people who are stabbed are just like, what?
Is it
What
worth it?
I have to do with this?
Was the comic that
Right. That
funny?
was 5 years ago.
But
Yeah.
I'd like to see what was the joke that you had to get in the paper that day? How funny was
I
it?
think they were taking a stand, which I respect. The other thing is, whenever there's no gun, I always make it. Whenever someone is attacked with a meat cleaver, they end up making both sides of the argument, which is the NRA people go, see, if you take away their guns, they're just going to attack you with a meat cleaver. And then the non-gun people go, yeah, but it's 2 people got hit, not 35 people got hit.
Right.
I honestly don't know the answer, but I seriously doubt that many schools have been cut up with a guy on a meat cleaver.
Except that I get to shit on Brian's point.
I said many. I said many.
And that guy went on a stabbing spree at that kindergarten.
Which one?
Yeah.
There was a guy I think it was in Japan a couple years ago. A guy was stabbing kids at a
God.
school.
God, I miss shooting
I don't
kids.
remember that.
You know what? That wasn't worth shitting on your point over.
Shooting kids,
I don't
I
wanna talk
understand.
about it.
Stabbing is a whole
Yeah,
different
that's
thing.
way out of bounds.
You got to get up
Yeah,
close
it's-
and
it's
personal. Not good. Not good.
Well, AJ, I'm wondering if you have any insight on this. Something tells me you might. I know, we're light on Lori Laughlin news because who cares? But since AJ's here, apparently she's going to spend her time at the Victorville Correctional Facility, and they have all kinds of just fun things to do there. Actually, doesn't sound super bad. The Full House actress was sentenced to 2 months behind bars in August for her part in the college admissions scam. And when Loughlin reports to the facility, which she has to do by November 15th, she'll be housed in low security.
Yeah.
She has access to the commissary. You can put $360 on it. There's also Pilates, arts and crafts, 300 minutes per month on the phone, and a lot of activities, yoga, spin class.
It's a better lifestyle than mine is right now.
I don't do any of those things.
I don't know much
She can
about
crochet. She can paint.
Yeah, I know that she huddled with some ex-cons and she learned what's it going to be like, and she met with some big, Caged Heat dykes. Remember those girls in those movies, Caged Heat?
Oh,
Was this a Will
It was
Ferrell
always
movie?
a tit would almost pop out at
yes.
12:30.
Hold on.
Caged Heat.
Hold on.
Danning, Sybil Danning.
Sybil Danning. All right,
Yeah.
there's a few movies. There was the not Chris Rock.
Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart, Will
Hart.
Ferrell movie.
Yeah.
And based on, there was a true story of that guy who
Right.
coached people for prison. And
Yeah.
then there was Caged Heat and
Caged Heat was like early porno for us, man.
Yeah. Caged Heat was great. We took a deep dive on Caged Heat. I think there was
okay.
Concrete Jungle or Asphalt Jungle
Something
or
like
something
that.
like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
There was a movie. There was a real movie that was that.
Right.
And then there was, what was the other prison movie? Caged Heat and something Concrete Jungle.
Concrete-
I'm going to go with that
had-
too. And the trailers are always great because they start lights up. They're in the shower.
Yeah.
And so here's how those movies work. Linda Blair, I think, was one of the
Yes,
chicks.
she was.
They take who would be Lori Loughlin's character, except
Yeah.
for they were 23.
Right.
And they were in there for pulling the label off a mattress. And then they'd
Yeah.
go into the shower and the hot chicks would come up And the black chicks were always offensive, like, hey, man.
Yeah,
And they
yeah.
were like that. And then there was the hot blonde chick who was like Sybil Danning. It was like, I'll take care of you, but you got to take care of me.
You know how it
got to know
works,
how the
yeah.
game is played.
Right.
And the fantasy was always the young 23-year-old who didn't belong there.
Oh, yeah.
Now she's naked with all the hardened, horny lady cons.
You're going to get turned out.
Right.
I had an ex-girlfriend did one of those. Her movie was called The Expendables.
What?
Yeah, I dated Idalis from MTV a long time ago. Idalis De Leon. She was in The Expendables with Robin Givens and Tempest Bledsoe, and it was about a bunch of chicks in prison.
Here's how you cast those movies. You could either get the celebrity, the female, on the way up or on the way down.
Yeah.
You can't catch them in the middle.
No, they're not interested.
They don't even look at your script in the middle. On the way up, like, hey, they're 19. No one knows who they are. They'll take it's a job.
Yeah.
After the prime,
this was the way down.
After the divorce,
It was the way down. Yeah.
It's the way down.
That's
I only have hazy memories of this movie even existing because we had cable when we were very, very young children. Do you guys remember Reform School Girls with Wendy O?
Sure.
That's one that I remember when I was a tiny child watching that on HBO.
Here's how what a desert of pornography I grew up in. Wendy O. Williams with electrician's tape over her nipples and a bad boob job is about all I have.
Plasmatics,
Sure.
Hey, that's something that I think's gone the way of the dodo. We don't have reform school anymore.
No.
And we don't have insane
past.
we need insane asylums too.
Yeah.
Didn't Paris Hilton just have a story about reform school?
But they don't call it reform school.
No, it's also closed too. Her place they got
the one
closed
in
down.
Utah. It's not like, if you said threatened a kid saying you're going to reform school, they wouldn't know what you were talking about.
No, it's like boarding school. It's a boarding school.
Yeah.
Also, when you're a kid, everything is relative, right? Like when you're 14, if you grow up in the penthouse of a Ritz-Carlton in Manhattan, then that place is a free fall. For me, it would have been a big step up. Like I've been like, what? You get chipped beef on toast on Tuesdays? This is fucking awesome, people. This is awesome. They got basketball hoops with nets. This is huge.
With nets.
This is huge.
Yeah.
There's a
What did I do to deserve this?
There's a thing between the mattress and the floor. I don't know. What'd you call it again, Steve? It's a
Bed frame.
box spring?
Wow.
It's not even on the floor.
Unbelievable.
2 sheets, upper and lower. Are you kidding me?
bad.
Ooh la la.
Not bad.
The pillow has a case on it. There's a jacket on the pillow.
Got friends who come by.
This is awesome. Yes.
Yeah.
It's relative. You're right. So apparently this rule is already on the books in New York, but they'd like to remind people the Metropolitan Transportation Authority's board is slated to formally ban defecating on the subway, buses, and transit facilities during its meeting. It's technically already barred, and you could be fined $100 for doing it. But apparently there have been a surge of complaints, and of these soiled subway trains. They surged last year, according to MTA data. The workers' union, Transport Workers Union Local 100, launched a trash train photo contest last October to highlight the filth and protest cuts to cleaning crews.
All right. Cleaning Crew is a great 80s band. I think they sung it.
The
I
Cleaning
just died
Crew.
in your
I
arms
just
tonight.
pooped on your train tonight.
Must have been something I ate.
All right. So, first off, being a janitor used to suck. Now it's hell. Now it's a living hell. Like cleaning up, trash and fast food wrappers. No one wishes that upon their child. But cleaning up fecal matter at this point, right?
No, you're getting COVID, MRSA, AIDS, SARS, anything's out there.
That is horrible. Also, the problem with fining people who shit on subway cars is
Empty bags.
They operate like Lorenzo Lamas did in Renegade. Like they're sort of outside the law. You know what I mean? Like the A-team. They don't.
How fast they do it now? Have you seen the videos? There are people who do it out of spite.
I saw the chick in the Dunkin' Donuts in Canada.
Yeah.
She went full. Who's the pitcher? Sorry, Abbott. Who's
Jim Abbott, one hand.
She went full.
She put the middle. She put something under her arm and did it.
She fielded like shit, like Abbott did. Like he threw the pitch,
I get
hand
it.
went onto the thing. Like she shit in her hand.
She's done
she
it before.
dropped the yoga. She dropped the Lululemon. Shit in her hand. It was one clean throwing motion.
She's
like
done
she
it.
didn't.
She's done it before.
She didn't even. Didn't
Yeah,
it was
that's
like,
not a first-time move.
I saw
No.
a girl come up the escalator on a video of like a department store and drop a load before she got to the tippy top of it, picked her pants up, and the guy behind her slipped in it. Like,
Oh, that's diabolical.
how quick it happened.
Oh my God.
There's never been a better time if this is your thing from a porno standpoint, right? Like, I mean, imagine if this is in fact your thing.
Bukkake?
If this is
Is
your
it- what it's
groove,
called?
you know
No,
what I
what is it
mean?
called?
No, that's
Bukkake.
No, that's the
This is
bukkake, right.
If you're into bukkake,
German Scheißer video.
you can go on the internet. I mean, stuff you used to have to send away for
Oh, yeah.
9mm
Yeah.
black and white grainy.
Be here in 8 weeks.
Who
Can't
knows
wait.
what would show up at your door, right? Now you just go on the internet all in high def. It's all there.
Shitting in department stores.
If that's your
Boom.
thing.
Yeah, of course.
If that's your thing.
It's a great time to be alive and a terrible time to be alive. It's the best of times and the worst of times.
We had chicks jogging and shitting. We have them in what was that hockey player? And oh God, sorry, I'm thinking Wayne's World. Who was what was
Tim,
that? Tim Horton.
Tim Horton?
Tim
Yeah.
Horton. I think she was like in a Tim Hortons
Yeah.
or something.
Yep.
She's like a
Yep.
Canadian. She's like in a Canadian. You have that tape, don't you?
Wayne's World will stand the key
Yeah.
down.
Oh,
What
wasn't
happened?
they couldn't use Tim Horton or they didn't?
That's funny.
He shit on the ice?
No.
Jerry Nadler just shit on the stage. You saw Jerry Nadler do the shit walk the other day?
He did?
Yeah. Oh, Jerry Nadler. Pelosi was making a speech, and Nadler, he did that like little awkward shuffle out of camera range. Like he shit himself for real.
Well, he had to have a bypass before it was a sign. I mean, not the stomach bypass,
Yeah.
like the gastro.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he must have had that before
Oh,
it
he
was really a
gigantic.
science.
Yeah, he
'cause
was
like
gigantic.
500 pounds.
He was gigantic.
So maybe that's some of it. Maybe he had something that disagreed with him. But that
Disagreed with him.
the chick at the
Like a Republican?
Yeah, the whole GOP disagreed with him.
the chick at the donut shop. That was like 3 years ago, right, Max?
Yeah, we covered it for sure.
Yeah. Do you see that move?
No,
One-
I like to see this
Like
kind
a
of.
love
one
it.
fluid
Oh, boy.
Wait a minute, here
throwing
we go.
motion. Think Jim Abbott
Okay,
fielding a
so
ball.
I like the.
She's arguing.
I see this. She's pissed. Here we go.
She's arguing.
Okay.
She's arguing.
She's done it.
She's now, I don't know,
Getting
throwing
napkins?
stuff
Now, when do you
around.
think she's
She
thinking of it?
grabbed a napkin.
Oh, she's thinking of it right now.
She grabbed a napkin.
She knows. Boom. There goes the shorts. I'm going. Bang. Oh, she leaned on the.
Dropped the deuce.
She dropped the deuce. She
picked
waited.
it up.
Oh my
and-
God.
Oh, my
my.
God. Oh, man. Wiped it
Oh,
and
and the
threw it
wipe.
on her.
That's a Gold Glove picture
Yeah.
right there.
You got to burn that place
You
down.
got to
That's
feel
my
bad
God.
for the guy behind the counter, you know, he's got to go home that night. His wife's like, how was work today, honey?
Took a lot of shit today.
Don't ask. And then her mom's probably, the wife's probably asking donut-related questions. What'd you guys do, run out of Jimmy's?
Run out of bear claws.
Not even in the same ballpark.
Oh God.
The thing, the frosting bag dried up again. We had to do the thing where you stick the ballpoint pen through the end of frame.
Wish.
I thought
But I
you'd bring home
wouldn't
some
give.
glazed. I thought you'd bring home some glazed tonight.
I know. I got it. You do that thing where you make half, you make decaf, and then you make regular, but no one drinks the decaf, right? So you're left at the end of the big pot
That
of decaf.
sucks.
Am I right?
That would have been a bad day. This was the worst day.
No.
Jeez. You gotta look on your face like a 43-year-old woman came in and dropped her yoga pants and hurled shit in your direction.
Getting warmer.
And she looks like the kind of chick, despite her talent, she looks like she'd never done it before. But clearly, she had some kind of expertise in that line of work.
I gotta say, I don't recommend this, but I will say this. Almost no one in my family listens to me. You know, I go, feed the dog. And they go, like, I'll do it when I do it. You know, like everyone's just like, whatever I say, they go, we'll get to it later.
Right.
Whatever, buzz off. One fluid shit throwing moment. One thing where like I was saying, Sonny, feed the dog. And he was like, I don't think I need to
Bang.
just half on the
Right.
refrigerator, half on his forehead.
How about now?
How about next time? So it's like next time I go, who's going to take the trash out? And he goes, let Natalia. And I start dropping my swim trunks. You know what I mean? He's like, okay, I got it. He just run out of the house. One good shit throwing incident
very
in your
effective.
house, wife, daughter.
Well, then you become known as that person. Like that.
But all you'd have to do is start reaching back
Yeah.
with one hand,
Yeah.
and they'd
Yeah.
go, okay, I'll
All
get
right.
the trash. I'll get the trash.
Yeah, no, it's very
It's
effective.
worth it once.
It's very effective.
Would you look the next time this woman comes to the counter?
Oh boy.
Oh.
And
Or will be
Coffee
ready
is
and
hot.
waiting.
and you're like, I'm sorry, we don't do buttermilk afternoon. And she goes, oh, you don't. And she pants said, okay, we'll get a batch sheet up
Got an
here.
exception this one time.
Right?
She could ask for anything the next time she comes in there.
That's
Anything.
right.
What do you put up on the sign? Like you go to stores and it says shoplifter. There's a picture of a person in a Xerox copy. What does her picture say? Shit tosser?
How about
You know, like,
how about the
avoid-
sign in the store? It says days since. You know what I mean? You have an accident. You have shit, fecal
That's
flying.
an accident. Yeah.
All right.
Do we even have a zero?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Also, I don't know what what the health inspector is, but you get some mayonnaise. It's the wrong temperature. You got to clean out the whole kitchen.
Yeah.
Imagine if some bitch just throws a handful of shit in the back.
Yeah, how'd you go from an A to a C?
You got to
No.
douche out.
Got to burn that
You got to
place
burn
down.
that whole place
It's got
down.
nothing to do with the donuts. It's no, we're fine.
The donuts are great.
I don't know. That C in the window bugs me. Well,
Yeah, that'd be a funny thing too. Like, we used to have an A. Where'd you get the C? You know
I had
what?
to talk that out from the D.
It's not even on me,
it's
really.
Yeah, it
Come on.
was a D, but I talked to the health inspector and
Yeah.
she bumped us up. But it's
If only we had those COVID shields in place back then. If we knew.
exactly.
Who knew?
We have Jim Abbott doing this throwing
Jim
motion.
Abbott. Look at the way it's almost like she thought I'm going to go in there and do this because how do you look at the perfect inlay of Abbott pitching perfect.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Fantastic. Emmy worthy if you were on TV.
All right, sorry, Gina. What else?
Well, you mentioned hockey at one point, and it reminded me that there's this great hockey story recently. A Florida hockey fan narrowly avoided getting broken into and arrested by cops who went into his home after neighbors reported him yelling "shoot, shoot" during a Stanley Cup playoff game the other night. Devin Garnett was watching the Tampa Bay Lightning Stanley Cup final game on Wednesday, and as hockey fans often do, he got in the spirit. He's yelling at the TV. He's screaming, shoot, shoot, shoot. Devin and two friends who joined him in the rooting session were jarred out of their celebratory vibe when there was a pounding at the door, several police officers waiting to come in. The deputies told Garnett a neighbor thought there was danger on the horizon, and as he says, they came to the door and thought there were guns in the house. We were like, nope, we're just screaming for Steven Stamkos. Man. And they didn't end up going to jail or getting arrested.
I gotta say, I do not miss my apartment dwelling days. All the weird neighbors and all the shit and all the
3 feet away, your windows,
all the discussion. I mean, I had so many weird. My first apartment, I had the weird guy Al beneath me. He used to carry the gun, had the pomade. Had his little dog Skipper. He was nuts. He knew there were girls coming up to our apartment. He's like a 55-year-old paisan. We got a picture of Al somewhere. Al would always talk about weird sexual stuff to me and want to know if I'd send some of the girls down to his pad and stuff like that. These weird, uncomfortable conversations. There's a story, finally, when his little shitty dog Skipper died. And then the story where I was getting onto my motorcycle and he wanted to come out and lay it out to me, like Skipper's gone. And I was like, I'm running and lay it out. And he started crying and stuff. Skipper's gone.
I can't see.
And then there's the other guy. The other guy moved out 2 units over, and it was a complete perv. And Al cleaned out his apartment because he was the manager. Look at that. That's Al.
That's the old man from
Joe
Up.
Paterno. That's Joe
That's the old man
Paterno.
from Up.
Right. It's
That's the man from Up. Is right. He's got the balloons on his house.
Al would be drinking his like Pabst Tall Boy out there and
Of
watering
course,
the lawn. And then Al cleaned out the apartment 2 units over. The guy was a crazy perv with all dildos.
He
And
hoarded dildos and
he
shit.
literally
Yeah.
showed up with a box full of inflatable dolls and dildos and butt plugs and stuff. It's like, hey, it looks like you guys can get more use out of this than me.
I'm going to clean them up. I cleaned them up for you.
It was so funny. It was insane. Like I remember looking at this box full of strap-ons and butt plugs. I was like,
God,
where's this stuff even
can't.
come from? 10 minutes later, Ray was wearing it and wearing a strap-on and chasing me around the apartment. Of course.
Sounds about that checks
Of
out.
course. So it's weird. The other guy, the guy lived next to us, was in Jaws 3, and he was being stalked. He had a stalker.
there's that stuff,
He had
too.
a miniature part in the worst Jaws movie ever, and somehow he was being stalked by a
What?
stalker. The guy punctured all 4 of his tires and broke his antenna. Had like a gay stalker. just all the mishigash of the couple and the thing and the noise and the weirdos that are next to you and the unit over, and it's like, ugh.
My first apartment in Hollywood, it was a place that Charlie Chaplin built many years, Normandy Towers, right? Really?
Oh yeah,
I lived there,
wow.
and
of course you did.
I had Marilyn Monroe's apartment. This girl I knew had Rudolph Valentino's place. We all had different famous people's places, but the guy next to me, his name was Johnny Hawaiian. He's tatted from his head down to his toes, all tattoos. And I didn't know he was a junkie. He would always tell me he got sick from Chinese food. I got a flu. And I'm like, oh, And then one day he's like really fucked up and he couldn't find his iguana. His iguana got loose. And it's all over like in our little courtyard. And he's throwing up looking for this iguana. I go, what the fuck is wrong with you? He goes, bro, I'm in withdrawals. I said, I thought you were sick from Chinese food. I had no idea it's like this. And then I said, if you're going to shoot, I want to see you. I want to watch you shoot dope if you're going to shoot it. I want to watch it. Really? I said, yeah. Like, at least I can get something and living next to you. Let me see you do it. So maybe one day, if I ever play a junkie, I'll do it right. But I don't want to just know you're doing it and not be involved in it. And then he lived in I had an old 1976 triple tin, whatever, Eldorado. And I let him stay in that for a few nights because his girl kicked him. Just crazy shit.
I had crazy guys who walked up and down the alley, sleep on my sofa. I got into a huge street fight with these guys, and 5 years later, one of the guys I beat up was moving into my apartment building while I was standing out front trying to sell a truck and meeting guys from the recycler.
Hey,
this guy
bro.
was moving.
What's up, bro?
He had a moving truck. He was moving in the unit. I met this person one time in my entire adult life, and that is me beating the shit out of him on the street in front of a party. That's the only time I ever met him, and then the second time when he was moving in a unit next to my apartment building in North Hollywood.
It's L.A. That's L.A.
Ugh.
It really is L.A.
Thank God. All right, let me hit stamps here, and then we'll... is that Johnny Hawaiian?
Yeah.
You know, it is Johnny. But it is Johnny. But
Wow.
he had no hair. I mean, he had a crew cut. But yeah, that's Johnny, man.
We're looking at a picture
He used to
of Johnny
work at a
Hawaiian.
hair salon. He was a hair colorist, he said. He got work, but he was principally a lead singer in some crazy-ass band.
Oh.
Yeah, that was him.
Is he alive?
I don't know. I haven't lived there since 98. I haven't seen him. You'd think you'd spot this guy once in a while, but I haven't
Yeah,
seen
he'd
him.
be hard to miss.
He was actually a good guy. He really was a good guy. His father molested him. There's a whole story. But I didn't know he was a junkie until
He was new to the... I mean, he was doing the facial tattoos
he
long
was
before
way ahead of
Tyson.
time. Way ahead of time.
All right, let me hit... you can find out if he's still alive. Or maybe-
I'd love to know that.
August has a book for Thursday. Stamps.com is what I want to say. Yes, we're adjusting to the new normal out there. We still need to be smart in what we do, take care of business. Luckily, Stamps.com makes things easier. I've used Stamps.com for over 10 years over here. I mean, it's probably coming closer to 12 now. Sending out merch, books, paperwork, whatever. Whether you're a small business sending invoices, an online seller shipping products, or just working from home, you need to mail stuff, go to Stamps.com. Lets you buy and print. U.S. postage, any letter, any package, 24/7 at home. 5 cents off every first-class stamp and 62% worth of discount on USPS and UPS shipping rates as well. They got a special offer going now. 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale. No long-term commitment. Just go to Stamps.com. Click on the microphone at the top of the homepage and type in Adam. That is Stamps.com. Enter Adam. All right, let's bring it home, Gina Grad.
You got it. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news.
Gina Grad.
That was the news with Gina Grad.
All right, we'll do some sports with Jeff Cesario, and we'll do that right after this.